Today we got quite a bit to unpack. Wargaming just released a video showing us their new Italian heavy tanks coming very soon to the game. Right now they are in a super test state except for the premium where we already have concrete stats. So for today's video we are going to have a look at the new improved auto-reloading mechanic, the new tech tree, and we are having a more in-depth look at the Progetto C50 Mod 71 Tier 8 premium tank. Now, this improved auto-reloading is very weird because it's almost identical to the normal auto-reloading mechanic. However, it has a little bit of a fail-safe option in it. It allows you that if you screw up your timing, that your next shot won't take the full reload time, but a percentage of the full reload time. So for example, they have this new little UI element, which are those little clamps, or brackets, and if those brackets are white and you now shoot, in theory you only would need to wait 1 more second for half this round right here to be loaded. If you now would shoot, this round would get nullified, right? It's with like it is with the Italian medium tanks, right? It will get nullified and you will lose progress on this round, effectively killing your DPM quite substantially. If you now shoot with those new Italian heavy tanks, you will get half of your reload time refunded if those brackets are there. If they're not there, I think, from what I've understood, it is just a partial refund, like it is percentage-wise. So the closer you're getting to this number right here, the more reload time you're getting refunded. This makes those tanks actually very interesting in the fact that you are actually promoted to try and clip, because you're not losing that much DPM as you would, for example, in one of the medium tank lines. But again, shooting close before full reload, half the reload for the next shot, which is, again, it's a little bit of a failsafe, but it's not anything like a game-breaking mechanic, if I understood it correctly. The new check tree starts from the P43 bis on tier 6, and from what we've known so far, it will take 53,000 experience to get the new tier 7 heavy tank, the Carro P.88, before we go to the Progetto 54, then to the Progetto 66, and then we go to the Rinoceronte, which is the tier 10 heavy tank. Now, let's have a quick look at the tier 7 one, the Carro D'Assalto P.88, which is going to be a typical heavy tank. Well, and not typical, but it will have the normal reloading mechanic. It has a 240 alpha gun, and if you are taking the stats of the one with actual good penetration, you will have a DPM of 2086. It has decent mobility from Wargaming side, and it has average to maybe a little bit subpar armor because of this enhanced mobility. I actually like the fact that Wargaming is giving this tank a fairly low alpha gun. Why exactly? Because we are now lacking a tier 7 heavy tank with 240 alpha, at least in a tech tree, because the Tiger just vanished for that. And that's very cool because we don't always need high alpha gun with 300 alpha, with 360 alpha, etc, etc, etc on lower tiers, so I do like this approach. It will be very interesting to see how the armor of this tank will be, because obviously angled upper plate, yeah, you will bounce there. But the almost non-existing angle on the turret front plate, that makes me a little bit concerned, and most likely they will have quite a little bit of issues when we are using this armor. Now, the Progetto C50 is the tier 8 standard tech tree tank, and it's the first one with this new mechanic. It has a 360 alpha gun with 220 millimeters of penetration, and if we take the 11-second reload time for the auto-reloader, you have a DPM of 1963. And if you decide to go pew pew pew, guns blazing, 1080 burst, which we already know from the T77 in 4 seconds, but this will probably be around 6 to 7 seconds, which is still a substantial burst. Wargaming said it has good mobility. How the armor is, we can't say yet. Probably the upper front plate will be quite bouncy, as it is traditionally with Italian medium and heavy tanks, or Italian tanks in general. The turret looks fairly weakish. Not only do you have the big cupola, you also have those cheek plates which are angled downwards and upwards, meaning if you're in a hold down position, those will act like a shot trap or act like a position to very easily push through. And the gun mantlet is rounded, meaning that if you're looking at an enemy, the rounded part is at a 9-degree angle and you have an easy penetrating time. The Tier 9 is the Progetto C50 Mod 66, which has a 400 alpha gun, has very good mobility, and has great frontal armor. And you can see that this tank also removed this weakness of having those duckbill-like frontal armor plate on the turret. It's all homogeneous at an angle. Yeah, 400 alpha, 268mm of penetration, an AutoReLoader with a potential burst of 1200. That is impressive. The base DPM isn't that great, 1846, but again, we have to keep in mind that this thing has 1200 damage burst with good mobility, with great frontal armor, and 9 degrees of gun depression. The only tank which can get close to that would be the IS-32. And the IS-32 is lacking a shot, and even has 10 the average damage less. I also really think that this Progetto C50 will be most likely very close to the IS-32. Maybe just better, at least when it comes to being held down. Not only 1 degree more gun depression, again, the sloped armor being homogeneous, which the IS-32 doesn't have, it just has those cheeks. Which are hard to pen, but they are still cheeks and they're easier to pen than just one flat surface. I do have to say I do like the looks of this tank. It reminds me a little bit about the Object 906 light tank with this elongated turret. Plus, you can see that there are those typical standard looking smoke grenade launchers, which we know from German tanks. Yeah, how long the interclip will be, I don't know. I personally hope for minimum 3 seconds. I would hope for maybe around 4 seconds, because we should not forget, this is apparently a very speedy, or a decently speedy, heavy with good frontal armor and great gun depression and probably good armor in the turret, which can go hull down. And Tier 9 is already a tier where a lot of people flock to because it's a great tier to be in, because it can't get up tiered to matchmakings, you know. So yeah, as much as I like the looks of it, as much as I like the stats of it, I am a little bit concerned about how strong this vehicle will be. And lastly, Rinoceronte, the Tier 10, very weird looking thing. Like, that thing looks basically like something like a weird-ish M48 pattern hull, which was under an hydraulic press, with either a Manticore turret or an Batcher superstructure plapped on it, and the gun pulled outwards and put into a pivoting mechanism. That thing looks so weird, and it looks quite strong. It has a 127mm Automelera gun with 490 alpha, 268mm of base penetration. Sadly, we do not know the armor yet. They just say it has great frontal armor. But now, guys, if this tank is going to have good gun depression, it does look like it has going to have good gun depression, because the gun is pivoting on this point quite much forward on the tank. And you can see, because it's very flat, parts of the auto-reloading mechanism, or the shell ejector, or the gun breech, basically gets also lifted upwards, or counterweight. I don't know what it is. You know, we don't have X-ray view, so it means that there is no, not like with the Manticore or with other tanks, there's no roof holding this gun breech and whole section away, so it can have a very good gun depression. The only thing limiting it is basically how its frontal hull is looking. This thing has going to have 1470 burst. That is significant, because that is basically half the HP of any tier 10 heavy tank. We don't know how quick the inter-reload clip will be. If it is going to be 3 seconds, oof. If it's going to be 4 seconds, manageable. Yes, tanks like the 50B, like the Kranwagen, tanks like the 50B, like the Kranwagen and the T57 Heavy, at least the T57 Heavy and the 50B have more burst, which is 1600. The Kranwagen, as far as I know, with 880, 1320, if I am not mistaken. I'm not sure though if I made a little calculation error. And I'm pretty sure the Kranwagen will be quicker in the interclip section as well. But that thing, it really depends how the turret armor is, because with such gun stats, this could fairly easily be a replacement for people which don't have a chieftain, you know. It really depends how Wargaming is going to balance this tank. They said we have to look to not make have to make them properly balanced, and yes, you do, because an auto-reloading mechanic is already on its own very potent, because it gives the player the option to either go on DPM or burst. And in a game where you have an HP system where you can burst people for more than half their HP, it is very, very, very strong, and something you have to keep in mind. I still cannot underestimate or understate how hyped I am for this vehicle. It looks very interesting, it looks very unique, you know. But then again, I am scared that it either will be like, it is a very slim thing Wargaming can do to balance it right on top of here. Either it goes down here and it's completely busted, or it goes down here and is not really useful because of very bad gun soft stats in general. Like, the player in me says, man, that thing looks cool and looks interesting and will look strong. And the reasonable person in me says, guys, we have to have proper stats in this tank so it's not getting overpowered. Yeah, now let's look at the tier 8 premium tank, the Progetto 71. And my goodness gracious, this tank basically is going, right now in the current stats, it looks incredibly powerful. It has also a 360 alpha gun with a 105mm what's it called, caliber. 1800 second burst in 6 seconds, and this is confirmed. AP, heat and hash rounds, 2048 DPM. It has spaced armor on the upper front and the turret, great mobility, meh accuracy, and 4 crew members. Those are the key features. 10 degrees of gun depression, which I don't know if a tier 10 has this. I don't know if a tier 9. The tier 9 has only 9 degrees, so that's very good. And again, as already mentioned, it has spaced armor. It really depends how thick those armor plates are, but this will make it very comfortable against, or should make it fairly decent against heat screens. And the very interesting part will be how Wargamings go forward with those heat screens, or spaced armor, because there's something which I'm going to show you at the end of this video. Now, this is a little overview of the stats, and you can see 105. This is going to be a 105mm gun. One of Canone da 105055, 360 alpha, 218mm of penetration, 270 with heat rounds, and the 3 seconds interclip reload time, 2.7 seconds aim time, and 0.42 accuracy. This is the only thing I really want to show you, as well as the turret armor, which is just 185 frontally. And Wargaming says that it can go up to, here we see it, 310 or 280. That's insane. That means the spaced armor will do quite a good job, most likely. Yeah, those are the armor, the rounds you can see. AP rounds are fairly quick with 1155 meters per second. However, the penetration for a heavy tank is fairly low-ish at 280. The premium round with 270, it's totally fine. It's actually very good. And the heat rounds at 105, they are also very, very good. And yeah. Full reload time, 37 seconds, which is, you know, it's kind of funny if you imagine that this tank has basically the same full reload time as the T77, maybe a little bit more. But it has the benefit of actually having armor, better gun depression, worse mobility, probably better gun stats, nah, not really, probably worse actually. And it doesn't have an AutoReLoading mechanic. So yeah, yikes boys. Here we have something very interesting. The Progetto 71 compared to the Progetto 46. And we all know the Progetto 46 is strong, considered even overpowered. The penetration, the heavy, is slightly better. The reload time, we know the medium is better. Turn traverse, obviously the medium is better. Gun depression, the heavy is better. And now to get this. The DPM is almost identical. Sure, the heavy tank will be a little bit... It will have a worse DPM in general, effective DPM, because it has a more inaccurate gun, and it cannot really flank. You know, it's not as fast as the medium tank. It has 0.58 seconds longer aim time, and it is much more inaccurate, right? But the fact that the not nerfed, actually buffed Progetto medium tank has only a less than 40 DPM more than the premium heavy tank. That's concerning. It does have the same amount of hit points, and now you can see whole frontal armor 135, whole Turret front armor 185 is obviously much better than what the medium has. Mobility wise, we go over here. You can see that, well, HP per ton ratio, obviously the medium is much better with almost 6 HP per ton more. And obviously 5 kph faster, but 50 kph top speed with 15 kph reverse speed is still very good. Sure, ultra burst speed is going to be worse. Camouflage obviously is worse. And lastly, 380 meters of free range is still very good. And because you will not be able to, well, I guess you will not be able to mount a rammer in those heavy tanks, you are going to most likely mount something like vents in your heavy tank slot, probably stabilizer, and then you are open to use either IRM or speed module, which would be probably also viable, or the HP module, or optics. And with optics, you should be able to get comfortably on your 445 meters of fuel range with a decent crew. Yeah, I know this is super test, but wargaming, and this is something we have to keep in mind, wargaming was content with those stats to release them to the public. This basically means in the first draft, they say to themselves, we are confident in saying that this tank could be balanced. Which is, sadly enough, the basic picture we're getting right now, it isn't. So yeah, let's have a look at the Fazit, or rather the conclusion, because I'm stupid and forgot to translate that. Yeah. I'm on the edge on those tanks. They look very interesting. It's cool to see that we get heavies, and they all look like incredible, fascinating projects and fascinating tanks. Especially Rinoceronte. It looks very fun and very, very unique. But on the other hand, it is going to be so easy to make them overperform, especially the premium tank. And we know wargaming that the premium tank is most likely, as you know, not being able to get nerfed, so they have to get this right the first time. Yeah, that's, in my opinion, a little bit of a problem, you know, to get that right in the first time. The Progetto came out and it was completely busted, or very strong, and now it even got nerfed, even though tons of our community said, no, don't do it. Yeah. Another point is fucking spaced armor being officially called out by wargaming. Keep MBT 70 now. You can balance that thing on tier 10 as, I don't know, a bond vehicle or maybe something other unique. This thing can work, and it already looks so freaking close to it. Okay? The MBT 70 turret looks fairly close to the Progetto 71s. The resemblance is there. And if wargaming decides to properly introduce spaced armor, even internal spaced armor, you know, it could maybe work nicely. And wargaming already has the MBT 70 in World of Tanks Blitz, and it's balanced there. So wargaming can balance this tank, and this tank would be an absolutely amazing thing. Because if wargaming plays their cards right, you could make this as a tier 9 or even a tier 10 reward vehicle for something. Give it the double crew system, because the XM803 was all like, the XM803 is basically MBT 70 for the Americans. It was a joint American and German project. So this tank could be absolutely fantastic, okay? Come on, wargaming, you can do it. So yeah, do you have any feedback to my video? I tried to take everything together we learned today, and it obviously is a little bit of a longer video than their 9-minute video and 50 seconds, but we did talk about some more stuff, and I tried to give a more in-depth view, especially as we have the basic stats already of the tier 8. Let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to be always up to date with everything concerning World of Tanks and War Thunder. My name is RagingRaptor, thanks so much for watching, and I see you around. Cheers, my dear viewers.